My name is Natalie Morrison. I'm 36 years old, and I didn't know my life was about to split cleanly in two until a Thursday afternoon that began with something painfully ordinary. Checking my bank balance to plan for property taxes. I was sitting in my car outside the county office, engine idling, sunlight slanting across the dashboard. I remember thinking how responsible it felt, how adult. I'd inherited that money from my father 3 years earlier, after cancer took him faster than anyone expected. I didn't touch it, not for vacations, not for emergencies. It sat there untouched, a quiet promise that at least one part of my life was stable, or so I thought. The savings account loaded. $1,847.23. I refreshed the app. Once, twice. The account had held $82,000 less than a month ago. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might pass out right there in the car. I told myself it had to be a glitch, a delay, a system error. Banks made mistakes all the time. My hands were shaking when I called customer service. After verifying my identity, the representative spoke in the calm, neutral tone people use when they don't realize they're about to destroy your day. The authorized user, Ethan Walker, initiated an $80,000 wire transfer on October 3rd. October 3rd. 2 weeks ago, I had been in Denver for work. I hung up without remembering to say goodbye and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, my thoughts slamming into each other. Ethan was my boyfriend. We'd been together 4 years, living together for 2. We weren't married, thank God, but we were serious. Shared a home, shared plans, shared trust. We mostly kept separate finances. Mostly. I had added Ethan to that savings account for emergencies only. Medical, travel disasters, things you don't plan for. Not this. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring, cheerful as always. "Hey babe, how's your day going?" "Ethan," I said, my voice sounding too calm even to me. "Where is the money from my savings account?" There was a pause. Then excitement burst through the line. "Oh, I was going to surprise you tonight." A cold feeling crawled up my spine. "Surprise me how?" "I invested it." "You what?" "My ex, Brianna Matthews. She's launching this incredible crypto platform, Next Gen Coin. It's revolutionary. Decentralized finance done right. She let me in early. I couldn't speak. "Nat," he continued, rushing ahead. "We're going to be rich. She showed me the projections. 400% returns in 6 months. I invested the full 80 to maximize profits." "You took my inheritance without asking me." "I knew you'd overthink it," he said lightly. "You always do with money. Sometimes you have to trust your gut. And trust me, that was my father's money. And now it'll be worth 4 times that. You should be thanking me." I ended the call without another word. I sat there for nearly an hour, replaying his voice in my head. The confidence, the entitlement, the way he'd said my inheritance like it was a group asset. That night I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. I opened my laptop. I searched for Next Gen Coin. Nothing. No filings, no registrations, no credible mentions anywhere. I searched for Brianna Matthews cryptocurrency. Her Instagram came up immediately. Luxury cars, motivational quotes, rented mansions, financial freedom captions, comments from people asking how to get in. Every instinct I had screamed scam. Still, I didn't react. Instead, I called my friend Lucas, who worked in financial compliance. "Can you look into something for me?" I asked quietly, off the record. 3 days later, Lucas called back. "Natalie," he said, "this is a textbook Ponzi scheme." My stomach dropped anyway. Ethan came home that night glowing, showing me a dashboard on his phone. "Look," he said proudly, "we're already up $4,000. "Can you withdraw it?" I asked. "Why would we?" he laughed. "Brianna says withdrawals are temporarily paused for system upgrades." I nodded. I smiled. And I started recording everything. That was the moment I stopped being his girlfriend and became his witness. Ethan didn't notice the shift in me. That was the strange part. He didn't notice that I stopped arguing. Didn't notice that I stopped asking follow-up questions. didn't notice that I started listening instead of reacting. He mistook my silence for support. The morning after Lucas confirmed it was a Ponzi scheme, Ethan left early for work, whistling as he buttoned his shirt. He kissed my forehead and said, "This is going to change everything for us." I smiled back. Inside, I was already planning how to survive the wreckage. I didn't confront him with Lucas's findings. Not yet. I needed to understand how deep Ethan was in this, whether he was naive or something worse. That night, he came home energized in a way that felt almost manic. "You should have seen the Zoom call," he said, dropping his bag by the door. Brianna explained how early adopters like us are basically pioneers. Most people are too scared to see the future. I watched him pace the living room, gesturing with his hands like a preacher. "She's building something real, Natalie. People just don't get it." "Whose people?" I asked softly. "Everyone who doubts it. You know, banks, regulators, old money." There it was. The enemy narrative. Classic. "Did you try withdrawing anything today?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "Still under maintenance. Brianna says it's temporary. You have to trust the process." I nodded again. That night, while Ethan showered, I opened my laptop and searched quietly. Next-gen coin withdrawal issues. Next-gen coin scam. Brianna Matthews fraud. At first, there was nothing. Then I found a Facebook group with 12 members. The posts were cautious, nervous. "Anyone else having trouble withdrawing? Is this normal for crypto startups?" Brianna says it's just upgrades, but it's been weeks. All of them had one thing in common. They'd been recruited by someone they trusted. I messaged them from a throwaway account. Within hours, my inbox exploded. Amounts ranged from $10,000 to $100,000. Total losses were already nearing $800,000, and none of them could withdraw a cent. I didn't tell Ethan. Instead, I documented everything. Screenshots of the website, recordings of his explanations, archived copies of Brianna's posts. And then Ethan did something that made my blood run cold. He posted Instagram first, then Facebook, then, unbelievably, LinkedIn. "PM me if you want to. 10 times your money in months, not years." My phone buzzed. It was his sister, Rachel. "Natalie, Ethan's been telling me about this crypto thing. He wants me to invest my kids' college fund. Is it legit?" My hands shook as I typed back. "Do not give him $1. It's a scam. I've reported it." She didn't respond for a long time. When she finally did, her message was short. "He says you're jealous, that you can't handle him making smart financial decisions without you." The narrative was spreading. By the end of the week, Ethan was a full-blown evangelist. He talked about passive income at dinner, legacy wealth before bed, breaking free from the system while brushing his teeth. He even convinced his coworker Miranda to invest $5,000. When I found that out, something hardened inside me. This wasn't just about my money anymore. This was about damage control. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I went to the SEC website. I filled out the complaint carefully, methodically. I attached everything. I named Brianna Matthews as the primary operator, and I listed Ethan Walker as a potential co-conspirator because he was now actively recruiting others. Was I betraying him? Maybe. But The next morning, Ethan came home waving printed papers. "Contracts," he said proudly. "Brianna wants to move us to platinum tier." I stared at the number. "Another $50,000. We could take a loan," he replied casually, "or borrow from your mom." "No." He slammed the papers onto the table. "You're going to feel so stupid when this goes public. Name one investor," I said quietly. "They're under NDAs." Of course they were. I looked at him then. Really looked. The man I'd loved was gone. In his place was someone who believed money proved worth. That night, I made a decision. I would let him believe I trusted him just long enough. I learned something important that week. When someone believes they've finally outsmarted the world, they stop watching the people closest to them. Ethan mistook my compliance for loyalty. When I said, "You're right," instead of arguing, his shoulders relaxed. When I said, "I trust you," his confidence doubled. When I stopped questioning timelines, platforms, and returns, he stopped guarding his words. He started talking freely. It began subtly. He left his laptop open more often. He took phone calls in the kitchen instead of the bedroom. He stopped lowering his voice when he mentioned Brianna's name. She says we're early enough to change our lives, he told me one night while scrolling through spreadsheets. Not just get rich, reshape our future. I poured him a glass of wine with steady hands. That sounds big, I said. He smiled. You believe me now? I nodded. Inside, I felt nothing but cold precision. Over the next few days, Ethan grew bolder. He talked openly about commissions, though he didn't call them that. He called them referral incentives, performance bonuses, network rewards. If you bring in people, he explained, you earn faster. It's not shady, it's how startups grow. How much faster? I asked. He hesitated just long enough. Depends. That pause told me everything. Meanwhile, the investigations I'd set in motion were tightening quietly around him. I received an email late one night while Ethan was in the shower. The subject line alone made my pulse spike. R.E. Complaint number 224-103847. The message was brief, controlled, official. They had reviewed my submission. They had opened a formal investigation. An investigator would contact me within 48 hours, and I was instructed not to alert the subjects under investigation. I deleted the email after saving it to secure cloud storage. That night, Ethan lay beside me, scrolling through his phone, grinning. Brianna's planning a live investor conference, he said. Miami, 3 weeks. I kept my voice even. That's exciting. It's $500 a ticket, but it goes toward the investment. She says there might be an IPO announcement. An IPO. I almost laughed. Instead, I smiled into the darkness and said, sounds life-changing. 2 days later, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Unknown number. Natalie Morrison? A woman asked. Yes. This is Special Agent Karen Holt, FBI. We're working in coordination with the SEC and the State Attorney General's office regarding an ongoing cryptocurrency fraud investigation. We'd like to speak with you in person today. My heart, yes, I said. I'll be there. I told Ethan I had an early meeting and left before he woke. They already knew everything. The wire transfers, the offshore accounts, the shell companies. Then Agent Holt slid a document across the table. Your boyfriend has received $18,500 in commissions so far. I stared at the number. He told me it was investment growth, I said quietly. Agent Holt nodded. We have messages indicating he knew withdrawals were blocked and continued recruiting anyway. My stomach twisted. So he's not just a victim, I said. No, she replied evenly. He's classified as a recruitment coordinator. The word conspirator hung unspoken between us. What should I do? I asked. Act normal, she said, and separate your finances immediately. I went straight to the bank. I removed Ethan's access from every account he'd ever touched, changed passwords, opened new accounts in a different institution, moved what little remained. By the time I got home, Ethan was packing brochures and printed charts into a binder labeled Next Gen Strategy. You sure you won't come to Miami? He asked. This is big, Nat. I have work, I said. He shrugged. Your loss. He kissed me before bed, told me he loved me, told me this was all for us. I watched him fall asleep and wondered how someone could lie so comfortably while believing it. 2 days before the conference, Ethan grew restless. Brianna says some people are nervous, he said. Negative energy slows momentum. I raised an eyebrow. Energy? She says belief matters. Fear attracts obstacles. That was when I knew he was too far gone. The night before his flight, he laid out his clothes carefully. His laptop, his branded t-shirt Brianna had sent him. When I get back, he said casually, we should start looking at houses. I looked at him, really looked, and realized this was the last time I would ever see him unafraid. I'll miss you, I said. Love you, he replied. The next morning, I waited. At 9:17 a.m., my phone rang. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. I answered. He was screaming. What did you do? He shouted. The FBI is here. They're arresting everyone. Brianna, everyone! Arresting them for what? I asked calmly. Silence. Then panic flooded his voice. They said someone reported us. I let the word hang. Us? This is because you're jealous, he snapped. You couldn't stand that I was successful without you. Ethan, I said quietly, can you withdraw the money? No answer. Did you know you were getting commissions? Longer silence. Then a voice in the background, male, firm. Sir, you need to come with us. No, Ethan yelled. I didn't do anything wrong. The line went dead. I sat there in the quiet apartment and waited for the fallout. The silence after the call felt unreal. No ringing, no shouting, no dramatic music swelling in the background like in movies. Just me, standing in the kitchen, staring at a coffee mug that had gone cold in my hands. By noon, the story was everywhere. FBI raids cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme. Next-gen coin executives and recruiters arrested. Over $14 million stolen across 12 states. I didn't need to click the articles to know what they would say, but I did anyway. Brianna Matthews' name was everywhere. Lead organizer, mastermind, primary beneficiary. Photos of her in designer clothes flashed across the screen, now labeled evidence. The rented mansions, the luxury cars, the lifestyle funded by other people's trust. And then I saw it. Ethan Walker, not front and center, not the headline, but listed. Recruitment coordinator, commission-based contributor. The words felt clinical, almost gentle. The mug slipped from my hands and shattered on the floor. I didn't clean it up. My phone started ringing almost immediately. Unknown numbers, private numbers, voicemails stacking up faster than I could delete them. I answered one. It was Ethan's mother. Natalie, she sobbed. How could you let this happen? I closed my eyes. He stole $80,000 from me, I said quietly, and scammed other people. Her crying turned sharp. You could have stopped him. You knew something was wrong. I did, I replied. I reported it. She hung up on me. His father called next. You destroyed my son's life, he said, his voice shaking with rage. You went behind his back. No, I said calmly. He went behind mine. Then Rachel called. She didn't yell. I'm sorry, she said. I tried to warn him. I should have listened to you. That was the first apology. It wouldn't be the last attempt at manipulation, but it was the only honest one. By evening, Ethan's mugshot was released. Mascara-streaked eyes, hair disheveled, wearing the stupid next-gen coin founder t-shirt Brianna had mailed him. I didn't recognize him. The man who once lectured me about responsibility and planning now looked like a stranger who'd lost a gamble he never understood. At 10 that night, there was a knock on the door. I already knew who it was. I opened it slowly. Ethan stood there, eyes red, face hollow, smelling like fear and sweat. They let me out on bail, he said, voice cracking. My parents put up the house. I stepped aside, just enough for him to see inside. Your bags aren't here, I said. He swallowed. Natalie, please, just talk to me. You can talk, I replied, from the hallway. He broke. I didn't know it was illegal, he said. Brianna manipulated me. You received $18,000 in commissions, I said. You told people withdrawals were frozen and recruited them anyway. He dropped to his knees. I just wanted us to be rich, he cried. I wanted to prove I could do something big without your help. You did something big, I said evenly. Federal crimes are pretty big. His head snapped up. This is your fault, he snapped suddenly. If you'd supported me, get out. This is my home too. No, I said, pulling out my phone. My name is on the lease. Yours isn't. He froze. You wouldn't call the cops. I dialed. He ran. The next morning, his public defender contacted me. They wanted me to testify that Ethan was naive, that he didn't understand what he was doing, that he was manipulated by Brianna. I said no. 2 days later, his mother called again, begging this time. Please, she cried. He could go to prison. He thought about prison when he stole from me? I asked. Silence. Then his father tried. I'll pay you back, he said. $30,000. if you help him. You mortgaged your house for his bail, I replied. You don't have $30,000. I'll find a way. No bank will touch you now, I said gently. Just like no one should have touched that investment. He hung up. By the end of the week, Ethan lost his job. His LinkedIn vanished. His friends disappeared. Someone, not me, created a website compiling all the public court documents tied to NextGen Coin. Ethan texted me from a burner phone. You ruined my life. I'll never work again. Are you happy? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. You ruined your own life. I just reported it. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The apartment felt lighter, quieter, safe. The trial didn't take long. That surprised me at first. I had expected delays, dramatic reversals, something cinematic. But the truth was simpler and far colder. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records, wire transfers, commission payouts, messages acknowledging blocked withdrawals while continuing recruitment. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. Brianna Matthews went first, 12 years in federal prison. The judge didn't soften it. He didn't dramatize it. He simply listed the facts. Over $14 million stolen, more than 200 victims, funds laundered through offshore accounts and spent on luxury goods, travel, and social media illusions. When the sentence was read, Brianna didn't cry. She looked stunned, as if she genuinely believed the universe owed her a different ending. Then came Ethan. He stood at the defense table, thinner, quieter, stripped of the confidence that once filled every room he entered. His lawyer argued manipulation, naivety, influence, that he was led astray by someone he trusted. The prosecutor stood and dismantled that argument piece by piece. Mr. Walker continued recruiting after being unable to withdraw funds. He received nearly $20,000 in commissions. He encouraged others to invest, despite growing evidence of fraud. Ethan pleaded guilty. Wire fraud, conspiracy, 18 months in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, $63,000 in restitution ordered to victims. At sentencing, he tried one last time. Your Honor, he said, voice trembling, I was reported out of spite. My girlfriend couldn't handle that I made a financial decision without consulting her. I felt something tighten in my chest. The judge didn't even look at me when he responded. Mr. Walker, he said evenly, you were not reported for making a financial decision. You were reported for committing crimes. You are not the victim here. Ethan's parents were in the gallery. They looked broken. They had spent their retirement savings on legal fees, put their house up for bail, burned every bridge they had left, and it still hadn't been enough. After sentencing, restitution moved quickly. Everything Brianna owned was seized. Everything Ethan owned, what little he had, was frozen. Victims were ranked by amount lost and timing of reports. I was third on the list. 6 weeks later, I received a check for $31,000. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't justice. It wasn't closure. But it was something. The rest of my father's inheritance was gone forever, spent on illusions, on lies, on someone else's ego. Ethan tried one last manipulation from prison. Rachel called me. He wants to know if you'd be willing to put money in his commissary account, she said carefully. Just enough for basics. I laughed. A short, humorless sound. No, she sighed. He says you owe him for destroying his life. He owes me $49,000 and an apology, I replied. He'll never give me either. You're right, she said quietly. I'm sorry I asked. That was the last conversation I had with anyone in his family. A month later, Ethan posted a sob story on social media from prison through a friend about betrayal, manipulation, being used as a pawn. He tried to crowdfund his legal defense. It raised $234 before being shut down for violating platform rules about funding financial crimes. Miranda, the coworker he'd convinced to invest, commented publicly, Ethan knew. He convinced me to invest my mother's cancer treatment fund. I hope he never scams anyone again. That ended the sympathy. Ethan's professional life was over. No company wanted his name. No recruiter returned his calls. No reference would touch him. The apartment was mine alone now. Quiet. Peaceful. No one questioned my spending. No one touched my accounts. No one sold me dreams disguised as certainty. 6 months later, I started dating again. Nothing dramatic. No whirlwind romance. Just dinners, conversations, honesty. The man I'm seeing now is a teacher. He once told me, completely serious, that cryptocurrency feels like imaginary money for people who think they're too smart for regular scams. He's not wrong. Sometimes people ask why I'm so careful with money. Why I double-check everything. Why I don't trust guaranteed returns. I show them a screenshot I saved from that time. Ethan's old YouTube channel. Crypto King Ethan, 43 subscribers, 0 videos, all deleted. The bio still reads, building generational wealth, one blockchain at a time. Then I tell them the story. They usually laugh. They think I'm exaggerating. I wish I were. So here's my public service announcement. Earned the hard way. If someone promises guaranteed returns, it's a scam. If they need you to recruit others to make money, it's a scam. If you can't withdraw your funds when you want, it's a scam. And if your partner takes your life savings without asking, they're not your partner, they're a thief.